Hi guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we are going to be looking at all of the off-season trades that have happened in the past couple weeks. We're going to be diving into the trade and deciding which team came out on top. Make sure to like and subscribe, it would mean a lot to me. Now, let's dive into it. The first trade of the video that we are going to be talking about is the DeAndre Hopkins trade. First, we're going to be talking about the Cardinals side of this trade. They are a clear A+. They get a top 3 receiver in the league, along with Michael Thomas and Julio Jones, who's going to be a for sure Hall of Famer at this rate. And not to mention, they also get a 4th round pick in this trade. It fills up their gaping hole at receiver that they were probably going to have to fill in the draft with CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy. And it just gives them so much more flexibility in the draft, with the ability to take a player like Tristan Wirfs, Mekhi Becton, Jedrick Wills, or some other elite offensive tackle prospect to really help protect your franchise quarterback in Kyler Murray. You also could take defense here with Derek Brown, or maybe Isaiah Simmons falls here, even though I doubt it. Maybe Jeff Okudah can be your Patrick Peterson replacement over the next couple years. Really, this just gives you unlimited options in the draft. Overall, the DeAndre Hopkins trade for the Cardinals is a clear A+ move. You get a 4th round pick and DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson II. Looking at the Texans side of this trade, what is Bill O'Brien doing? You trade away your star receiver, who's going to be a Hall of Famer 100%, for an aging running back with 300 yards last year on a massive contract that is injury prone. Okay, whatever you want to do, Bill O'Brien. The only place where this trade would make any sense for the Texans would be if DeAndre Hopkins has some career-ending injury that only the Texans organization knows about, but I extremely doubt that that's the case, because last year DeAndre Hopkins performed at a Pro Bowl level and should have, if he was going to be traded, get 2 first-round picks for him at the very least, instead of David Johnson and a 4th round pick. Like, I don't know what the Texans organization is doing with Bill O'Brien, but Bill O'Brien needs to go. Like, he's making all these terrible moves and just making the Texans a terrible organization. The Texans at this point could be a Super Bowl contender if not for all these horrible moves that are being made. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me, and this trade gets an immediate F, and it's probably the worst trade for any team this entire offseason. Like, I don't know what they're thinking. Now that that trade is behind us, let's move on to the Detroit Lions trading Darius Slay to the Eagles. I give this trade an A+ for the Eagles because it fills their massive hole at cornerback with a superstar top 5 corner in the league who can make an immediate difference. Some people might say that this contract is way too big for Darius Slay, but I disagree. He's a top 5 corner in the league, like I said before, and he's 100% worth it, and he fills a gaping hole for the Eagles that I think was going to be filled in the draft with a player that was not at the caliber of Darius Slay, probably never going to be the caliber of Darius Slay, because the Eagles have so many other holes that they're probably going to have to go receiver in the 1st round or something, and to only have to give up a 3rd rounder and a 5th rounder for one of the best players in the league, I think that's a steal, and why I give it an A+ grade for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now on to the Detroit Lions part of the trade, and I think I give them a D+ because why bring in Desmond Trufant for a slightly cheaper contract? Yeah, he's younger. Yeah, it's for a cheaper contract, but Darius Slay is 3 times the player that Desmond Trufant is. Just sign Darius Slay to the slightly more expensive deal. The only reason why this trade isn't an F is because I know that the relationship between Darius Slay and the Lions has been a little rocky over the last couple years, and they just wanted to move past it, which I understand, but at the same time, you either could have gotten more value for Darius Slay or just try to work it out with him. Now let's move on to the Jurrell Casey to the Denver Broncos trade. I give this an A+ grade for the Denver Broncos because it brings in a Pro Bowl defensive lineman in Jurrell Casey for only a 7th round pick, which giving that type of player for only a 7th round pick is just remarkable for me. Now onto the Titans' point of view on this trade. I don't really understand it that much because you give up a 5-time Pro Bowler in Jarrell Casey for only a 7th round pick. The 7th round pick, you're probably not going to get a player that's going to make any impact on your team going forward, while Jarrell Casey has made so much of an impact on your team over the past couple seasons, and I'm just confused at why they would trade him away. Maybe it's just they want to make room for younger players, because Jarrell Casey is 30 years old, but overall, I don't understand it, so I give it a D. Time to talk about the Stefon Diggs trade to the Bills. I think that the Bills did well here, getting a fantastic player like Stefon Diggs in a position of need that they were probably going to take with their first-round pick at number 22 overall, like maybe a T. Higgins, a Laviska Shenault, or a Justin Jefferson or someone like that. The reason why I like this trade is because it brings Stefon Diggs, a proven receiver, very talented, to the Bills. That's probably going to be even better than any of the receivers that they would have been able to take at 22, which is why I give this an A grade for the Buffalo Bills. I think that the Vikings did well here because they needed to get rid of Stefon Diggs. He wanted out, and I think that they actually got a good amount of value for Stefon Diggs, but the fact of the matter is, when you're losing a player like Stefon Diggs, it's very unlikely that you're going to end up winning out on this trade. So I give it a B grade, even though the Vikings, I think, did well. I love this trade for the Colts. It gives them a very powerful, very good young defensive tackle in DeForest Buckner, who can slide in on that defense right away and become probably the best defensive player on the field for the Colts, and really fill up a gaping hole that they had on the defensive line. And the only reason it isn't an A+ grade for me is because they lose the opportunity to take a quarterback like Jordan Love at that spot, which I think which I loved and I have mocked there in the past. So my grade for the Colts is an A. For the 49ers' point of view on this trade, I don't really understand it completely, why they would trade away such a young, talented player, but I guess they have a really crowded and elite defensive line that they can spare the loss. This trade gives the 49ers the opportunity to take a player like CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy or Henry Ruggs to really step in there and be an elite first option wide receiver for them and really take their offense to the same level as their defense and really become a Super Bowl contender for years to come. So I give this trade a B- for the 49ers because they lost DeForest Buckner, an elite player, but at the same time they get the opportunity to take elite prospect coming in that can change their team. This trade confuses me a lot, but I love what the Chargers did here, coming in to grab the 5-time Pro Bowl 26-year-old offensive guard Trey Turner to fix up their terrible offensive line, which is why this trade is an A for me, because they only had to give up Russell Okung, an aging offensive tackle. I don't understand this at all for the Panthers. Like, why would you trade away a 26-year-old, 5-time Pro Bowler in Trey Turner? Like, literally, he's your best offensive lineman. I get it. You're trying to tank for Trevor Lawrence, but is that really going to help when all you have blocking is a 30-plus-year-old, 2-time Pro Bowler that's probably about to retire in Russell Okung? No. Literally, you need someone to help block for Trevor Lawrence if you're going to get him. I like this trade for the Ravens, getting Calais Campbell, a powerful run-stopping defensive end, to slide in on that defensive line that just got mauled by Derrick Henry in the playoffs. I really like it a lot, but the only reason why it's not higher on this list is because Calais Campbell's like 36 years old or something, probably going to retire in the next like 2 seasons, so it's really only a short-term win-now move, in my opinion. I understand this trade for the Jaguars, but at the same time, I don't. Like, getting rid of a top 5 run-stopping defensive lineman in the league in Calais Campbell for only a 5th-round pick really sucks if you're a Jaguars fan, but I get it because the Jaguars suck. Like, they're going to be like a 6-win team at most next season and probably going to be in competition for like a top 5 pick next year. Like, they're really just trying to blow up and tank next season. Like, literally, they've been trading away their entire team. They've got 16 picks this year. Like, that's insane. So I think that they're just trying to tank and get ready for next season and just trying to get whatever they can for all their players. That is why this trade is a C grade, even though the Jaguars aren't getting that much value back for Calais Campbell. I like this Hayden Hurst trade for the Falcons because they lost Austin Hooper to free agency to the Browns, and they're going to need a tight end in order to be a competitive team next year. And Hayden Hurst is a good young tight end that found a lot of success last season in Baltimore, which is why this is a B+ grade for the Falcons. For the Ravens' point of view on this trade, I think they got a good amount back for Hayden Hurst with a second and fifth rounder, but at the same time, I don't understand why you trade him because you found so much success with a 3 tight end set last year for the Ravens going 14-2 that it just doesn't make sense to me why they would trade him. Moving on to the AJ Boye trade to the Broncos, I think it's an okay trade. Like, they needed to get a cornerback to replace Chris Harris, whose contract was up, who then signed with the Chargers. But I think they could have gotten a better person. Like, yes, Boye has made it to the Pro Bowl, but he's old and clearly regressing each season. And giving up a 4th rounder for a player that I don't think is very good, personally, and only going to regress even more, is just not a great trade. So I think I give them a C+ trade. Looking at the Jaguars' point of view of this trade, I kind of understand it because you're getting a 4th rounder for an aging, regressing corner in AJ Boye, but at the same time, you literally have 0 cornerback depth on your team right now, so that kind of straps you in to need to take a cornerback in the first round in a CJ Henderson or Christian Fulton at pick 20, or at pick 9, you need to hope that Jeff Okudah falls to you. Moving on to the Nick Foles trade, I don't understand exactly why Chicago would do this. You take on a massive contract in Nick Foles just to be a backup quarterback to Trubisky. Like, because as much crap as Trubisky gets for being Trubisky, he's better than Nick Foles. Nick Foles is an awful quarterback in my opinion. And really the only reason they bring him in is because Mitch Trubisky gets hurt all the time, it feels like. So just paying that much money for a backup quarterback just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I understand that they restructured his contract, but it's still way too expensive for a backup quarterback, in my personal opinion. I really like this trade for Jacksonville because it clears up so much salary cap that you were tied to with Nick Foles for like 4 years after you made the mistake of signing him last offseason. And just to be able to get a 4th rounder out of it, I feel like is fantastic, which normally I feel like you would have to give them like a 3rd rounder at least in order to take that contract on. So I'm just like, well done, Jacksonville. Well done.